It was such a struggle to pick out my top 10 decks for 2020. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Casper the Boy Diviner, and I'm here to talk about my top 10 favorites of 2020. If you know me, my collection has been growing and growing and growing. So I thought it would be good to reflect and think about the top 10 decks that I actually enjoy most using this year, including those that I received, including those that I've gotten a long time ago. All of them all together, what is my top 10? So just keep in mind that if you want to talk about the decks that were released this year, I actually got a video out there. You can watch that video. But first, I think I wanted to talk about how difficult it was to pick a top 10. Like if you asked me for my top 5, it was, easy. Top 6, 7, 8, it started becoming a bit of a struggle. I think there's a difficulty, especially in picking the last two. Because the last two, I feel like they were maybe an inch more that I like compared to the rest of my collection. So it was so hard. Why are there so many decks that I have that are kind of like I like them, but I don't use them and I don't love them in my collection? And this really made me think again about the depthier thing that I was trying to do this year and becoming more mindful with my purchases. So there are so many pros and cons because some of the decks that I didn't expect to love, I loved. And that was only because I let myself buy them. Yeah, so it's been tough. It's been tough really thinking about all these things. What do I need? What do I want? I don't believe in avoiding things that you want. Want is not a bad thing. Sometimes, you deserve to treat yourself. But how much is it? How much want do you need for it to be a treat? And how much want is it so that it's just a frivolous purchase? Because I really struggled to pick the last two decks. So not that these decks are bad. I do like the deck a lot. I do like these last two decks a lot, but I don't know if it's worthy in a way. Anyway, enough of that ramble. I just wanted to let you know that it was not easy and I should be reflecting on that. If you guys have the same feeling, let me know. I also struggle a bit because there are decks that I love but I don't use. And I don't use them because I can't bear to use them. I don't even know whether that makes sense. I like them so much that they are on a pedestal that I don't use them because they should be used for something worthy, not like a daily reading. You see, I'm going mad. So in number 10, my 10th deck is actually the Otherkin Tarot. I don't like the box. The book is alright, it's fine, but I really like the deck. This is my favorite mass market deck thus far. It is glossy, you can tell. But I really like the animals. This is one of the best animal decks I have also. So, if you heard of the Denizens of Earth Tarot, I like this deck better, and I feel like this might actually fit that same aesthetic, nature-wise, earthy amalgamations of man and animal. And I like how it shuffles, I like how it deals. I just don't like the glossiness, but that's fine. I also don't like the box, but the deck itself is okay. But I feel like this deck is definitely a good one for a beginner. Even better than the Lion Strider, to be honest, I feel. And I really like the watercolor washes. Her use of color, her art. Ciolo Thompson is really very evocative how she draws things. So if you don't know, she has other decks and I have her whole collection. You can check it out up there. I think it's there or there, one of them. So that's the 10th deck. One of those that I struggled with, like, should it be this one or that one or this one or that one or this one or that one? A deck that almost was there. Maybe I should give it an honorable mention, which is the Persephone Tarot. It was a deck that I wanted to let go, but I can't. And then I just struggled between this deck and the Persephone Tarot, and I decided to go with this one. But can you tell that there is something wrong when there's so many decks that I like? I don't know. I don't know if that's a problem. You don't have to comment and tell me like, hey, chill out, because I know I do. I'm taking things always a bit too seriously, but that's how I take my life, right? Without further ado, my 9th deck in this order is actually the Spolia Tarot. This wouldn't have been in my top 10 if I hadn't trimmed it. After trimming it, I do feel like this deck has a new lease of life. But I've been using it less and less for client reading, so it's just different. This was my go-to client reading deck, and now I'm actually using more of the Holy Spectrum, Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, because I enjoy it. The only downside about this deck is how thick the cardstock is. It's not a flexible cardstock, so it's not something you can riffle shuffle easily. But I really like this imagery, and I really, montage decks are always a hit and miss for me. But this one really, I think it's good. It's a really good deck. And this can be used for a lot of serious readings. And I feel like it can also be used for esoteric readings just because the imagery is so old school. But the colors in this deck is so vibrant, because I do feel like a lot of old school montage decks, they don't really use color. Another exception would be the Tarot of the Holy Light, but I cannot connect with that deck because of the continental reading system, which I don't understand. It's still a deck that I'm trying to let go, but I'm just too lazy to market it out, you know, like, hey, I got it. Especially because sending things to the US is so scary. I'm so afraid it gets lost. And it's not cheap to send it, especially because it's such a big deck. But yeah, I really enjoy the Spolia Tarot, and this is very traditionally RWS. It has vibrant colors. It's a montage deck. It's a montage collage deck. I said montage a lot of times, so when I said montage, I meant collage. I'm sorry guys, my brain is not working today. The 8th deck that I wanted to show you is a deck that you guys wouldn't be surprised, I guess. It's also in my top 5 of release of this year. It's the Lost Hollow Tarot. It comes in a nice tin. If you buy the Altar Cloth, it's a bit thin. I don't enjoy that particularly, but I like this deck. It is a nice linen finish, not the most expensive linen, but a very serviceable one. It is not too thick. You can tell that the deck is not crazy thick like the Spolia Tarot. Let's make a quick comparison. Do you see? Do you see the difference? These are the same number of cards, guys. Yeah. So it's very shuffleable. I enjoy it, and I really like the imagery a lot. I like the color scheme. Beautiful. Yeah, I got this card yesterday. These were my cards of the day, I think, and I got it all in reverse. They're all here. Maybe I should separate them, but Princess of Wands. Yeah. Pixel Occult has wonderful art, and I feel like every edition that he does, every new deck that he creates, he adds a bit more of himself, or he shows a deeper understanding of the cards every single time. So check out my Pixel Occult collection if you want, if you're interested in his art. But I really do enjoy this deck. I feel like it's calling me back to the Thoth again to really try to study it. But some of these keywords are different from the Thoth, so I just wanted to let you know that this is more of an amalgamation. This is the Kickstarter special card. The other death card is actually really pretty as well, so you don't have to be like, oh no, I didn't do the Kickstarter. Okay? So that is the Lost Hollow Tarot, which is a beautiful, beautiful deck, and it's number 8. Number 7 is a really new deck in my collection, really, really new. I don't know if it's fair because there's the sense of newness. Like my love for the Botan Tarot was so strong when I first got it for like the first 2 or 3 weeks or even a month. So it could be that I could be biased right now because I'm not generally into pip decks, but the Amano Tarot is my number 7. So I don't know if you know the Amano Tarot. I did a quick walkthrough of this one recently. So a lot of it is pip cards. But this is drawn by Yoshitaka Amano, who is one of my favorite artists, especially with his work with the Final Fantasy series. So I really do enjoy this deck. I love his use of color. His landscapes are beautiful. Look at that. Amazing. Of course, the card stock is not great. This deck is actually 26 years old. 26 years old. That is actually... that means this deck was released when I was 4 years old. No, 24 years old. Sorry, this deck is actually 24 years old. Huh. You know, my brain is really not the best shape today. 24 years old? So I was 6 when this was released. I haven't even gone to primary school. And it's still in pretty good condition. So yeah, one of my favorite decks this year. This is number 7. This was an easy pick. And I might be biased because of how recent and new it is. I haven't had time to really explore it. I can't wait to work with it. That's why it's here. You see that? How beautiful that is? Yeah, the Ace of Pentacles. The High Priestess. Yes, this deck. This deck is everything for me now. Number 7. Okay, number 6 is a deck that I have not used in a while. So it's again that thought, is it really a number 6? I really enjoy this in my collection. I'm glad I bought it, even though I don't use it much, even though I find it hard to read sometimes. It's getting re-released, I think. It was supposed to be this year, maybe. I'm not sure, but anyway, it's the Buddha Tarot by Robert M. Place. One of my... I really like the art, and I really like the the pippish nature of it. And the cardstock is okay. It's a smooth cardstock, so it's not overly glossy. There's another Robert M. Place deck that has been on my list for the longest time. I might just get it just because it's been on the list for so long. Let's see what happens with my depth here. It was on my list for this year, actually 2020, but I've been holding back the whole time. That deck is actually the Magnum Opus, because I like the minimalist nature of it. Even people say it shouldn't be so minimalist. Not only that, I also feel like I wouldn't be reading well with a minimalist deck, but you know, I'm still attracted to that deck. But this deck is beautiful. Of course, there are niggles. I have niggles with everything. I feel like the majors could have also a beautiful border around them. I know people don't like borders, but I really enjoy the bright yellow borders, the bright green borders. But it's not easy to read because I get very confused with the borders and the elements. I think this is Pentacles. Yeah, so I hope maybe I should just try to read this more intuitively. I really enjoy this deck and I hope to use it more again, as always. But it's my number 6. Okay, moving on to the top 5 right now. The 5th deck in my top 5 is actually the Carnival at the End of the World. This was one of my favorite decks in 2019. And I kind of stopped using it as much. And it's just because I have bought so many decks this year. I'm actually tempted to buy his new guidebook because they explain more about the cards. But it's still on hold. I don't know if I want to do that. Because it's not cheap, you know, to buy a thin guidebook and then deliver it all the way here back to Singapore. But I really enjoy this deck. So interesting. And the tower is so cute. That's the tower, right? The tower is so cute. It's not the typical like, oh no, things are gonna happen tower. And so I'm interested in the guidebook because I feel like that will open it up. This might even jump higher if I finally start to understand the imagery, even though I do have a good understanding as I look at these images. Do you see? Ace of Cups. So cute. There's a bear. I love this deck. I'm getting chills just holding it, even though I haven't used it in so long. And maybe I should start using it in January again, you know? The 4th deck in my collection that I really like is actually the Stella Tarot. This deck is special to me, it's sentimental. I bought this with Valerie. That's the first time I met her because she was sharing shipping with me for this. She reached out to me. What a nice person. And I really enjoy this deck. Oh no, it's dirty and I don't know why. I feel like there are like pests in my drawers and I don't know how they get into the cards. But anyway, it's dirty. I'm so sad because this is quite a rare deck. Anyway, the Queen of Swords. I really like this deck. I like that it's a combination of both the Thoth and the RWS, if you actually check out my walkthrough about this deck. And I like the vibrancy. I like the art style. I like the big borders. People hate big borders, but I like them here. I even don't mind the copyright here by Stella. Yeah, there's nothing bad to say about this deck. I really enjoy this deck. I feel like it's not great for Instagram posts, and that's why maybe it's pulling me back from using it as much because I always share my readings. I don't know. I want to use this more. I actually want to read the tarot more, and I don't know why I don't do it. Sometimes I have all these decisions to make in my mind. Like I was thinking whether should I buy this YouTube course about building a YouTube channel, things like that. But it's so expensive. I should just read the tarot and say, hey, should I buy it? Is it worth the 200 USD? I mean, I have money saved up. You know, every time I receive money from coffee or I do a reading for someone, it actually goes back into my business fund or my Boy Diviner fund, where I buy decks for myself to treat myself and also to expand or to push myself in content creation so I can create better content for everyone. So that YouTube course was something that I was thinking of doing, and I took out the Stella Tarot, I took it out, and I was thinking, should I read? Should I just decide whether I should get it or not? And I just didn't do it, and I'm not sure why. Because there are times when I decide not to take the tarot's advice, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. An example is my job, the new job that I'm going to. Okay, so that's my fourth deck. My third deck is actually the SKT. I really enjoy this deck. I haven't used it. This is one of those that it's so precious, you know. It's so precious to me that I don't use it. I like Annabelle Wen. I used to be a big fan of hers, and now I feel like I don't know what happened. Maybe I just resonate less and less. I think it's my fault. I put her on a pedestal a long time ago. She was really my like holy grail. I really treated her as this person that I really wanted to emulate. But more recently, I think maybe because I'm finding out more about myself, or maybe because you know, things change, people change, we all change. Maybe she has become less accessible as well. There's a distance that is growing, and that's fine. I still admire her as a person. I'm just not a crazy fan of hers like I was last time. Even despite that, I still really enjoy this deck. The Force. And I think this deck is going at like crazy prices online. Crazy prices. And I prefer this compared to the first edition. And I think so far I prefer this over the third edition. She has not released all the images. She has released some on her Facebook. And those might not be finalized. She might be making changes still. But I don't think I'll be getting that one. I feel like I have such a good relationship with this one. Even though I haven't finished all the rituals that, you know, she provided, I still really enjoy this deck. And I don't think I'll be upgrading or changing it. As with every deck, there are niggles here and there. Like, I wish there was more white space between the end of the card and the words. But it's still a very serviceable deck. It's a deck that I enjoy, and I do more for ritual readings or serious readings for myself. I don't use this deck for anyone else. It's a personal deck. So this is my number 3. And then my top 2 shouldn't be too much of a surprise for everyone. There's a sense because they are new. They are pretty new to my collection. There's that love for them until I get bored of them in that sense. It is the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, which is number 2, and the Botan Tarot, which is number 1. Botan Tarot, that is number 1. So these two are my favorites this year. I think you have seen enough of them. If you have not, you can check out my other video where I talk about my top 2 of 2020 release, because these two were released this year and they were on my top 2 as well. You can hear my thoughts about them there. I don't want to do too many repeats and repeated content. So a disappointing end, I guess, because they are decks that I've already talked about extensively, but you know, I'm not a surprising person. I'm not gonna keep a deck and not talk about it until the end. I'm like, oh, the SKT is my top. No, truthfully, these two are my top this year, and maybe they'll change next year. I hope they do. I hope my collection grows, and I hope it wouldn't be too hard to pick a top 10 next year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. What are your top decks for this year? Feel free to share, even if you bought it later, even if it's not released this year. Just share it with me. I'm more than happy to find out, because I'm always on the search for decks that I love. Okay, and it's not easy. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And you guys have a great rest of the day. You take care. Bye.